Well, tax day is just around the corner, and while millions of Americans are busy filing their taxes ahead of that April 18th deadline, others may need a little bit more time to prepare. But what goes into filing an extension? Stefanie O'Connell Rodriguez, host of Real Simple's Money Confidential podcast, is here with me live in Studio 57 to explain all of that. There's so much to get into. Thanks for being here, Stefanie.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's start with the most important part of this. How does the extension work for filing your taxes, and what do people need to know about what that really means?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, tax day this year is April 18th. And if you aren't ready to file all of your paperwork yet, you can go ahead and file an extension before that April 18th deadline and buy yourself some more time until October to get all your paperwork in order. That said, the important thing to understand is that just because you get more time to file your return doesn't mean you have more time to make a payment if you are owing the IRS money. So you really need to take the time to make sure that you make that estimated payment if you owe the IRS money before that April 18th deadline. And it's also very important to understand if you owe your state taxes by the April 18th deadline, even if you file a federal tax extension. So you want to check irs.gov for your federal tax implications, and then your state Department of Taxation and Finance website to understand the implications there.
Okay, that's an important distinction, because just because you file, it doesn't mean you can forget about it till the fall.
That's right, right? So you want to make that payment, even if you file for an extension, if you owe the IRS money. And you might have to do that, second extension request for your state, too.
Right. So tell us who's eligible for this. Can anyone apply for an extension?
Yeah, filing for an extension is really easy. There's a form on the IRS website. You can also use IRS Free File to file for an extension electronically. Again, go to irs.gov. And if you live in a certain state that's been affected by natural disasters, you might be getting an automatic extension to file your taxes. But again, just double check irs.gov to see your state-specific parameters and see if you qualify.
Okay, good to know. So what should we know before making a decision to extend or not? You mentioned you'll still have to pay an estimate by that April deadline, but are there any other drawbacks that we need to know about?
Well, the biggest drawback is either failing to make the payment or failing to file that extension paperwork before the 18th, because that's when you can start getting hit with potential penalties, failure to file penalties, failure to make payments on time penalties, and then you could also be charged interest on what you haven't paid yet. And that's what you want to avoid. So if you're in a situation where you need the extra time to file, okay, file that extension request. But if you need extra time to pay, that's where it's worth getting on the phone with the IRS and having a conversation about how to set up a payment plan. Because it's better to be proactive than reactive.
Yeah, no one likes to pay more for anything either.
That's right.
All right, Stefanie, thanks so much for your time and all of your insight. We appreciate this.
Thank you.
This Money Watch segment has been brought to you by TaxAct. File for less and get more.